Hi guys, Jack Rogers here and welcome to another lesson inside of Facebook Ads Mastery, and in this video we are going to be talking everything to do with lead magnets. What they are, how you can use them, different examples, and how you can sort of implement a system in place to capture data, capture leads, and then push them through to the next step in the process. So we'll start off with what a lead magnet is. And a lead magnet is essentially a stepping stone where we provide our audience with some value in exchange for their contact information. So an example of a lead magnet might be a free webinar, it might be an ebook, it might be a white paper, it could potentially be like plug and play templates, you've got like free downloads, you've got case studies. There's a ton of different options available that you can implement. Now with lead magnets, the key thing to remember is because we're providing our audience with value, we want to make sure that our lead magnets are as valuable as we can possibly make it, right? It sounds like a really obvious claim, but I've worked with tons of clients in the past where they'll have like a really basic lead magnet and they're very hesitant to give a lot of information away to our audience or to their audience, because they think if they give too much value that quite often their client is just going to take what they need from that and then not come to work with them. Now, I personally have a slightly different opinion on this, and I'm a massive believer of giving clients as much value as physically possible, right? And the reason behind that is when we give them so much value, we become the credible source in the space, right? And how many times have you been on YouTube and you've watched a YouTube video and it's been a really bad video? Yeah, it's waffled, it hasn't given you any valuable information, and you've ended up clicking off it. There's virtually 100% chance that you are never going to watch that person again on YouTube. You're going to go on to the next person, right? And it's that exact same process with lead magnets. They can be a really valuable tool to get people in the door and get them on your emailing list. But if you do not provide them with enough value, they're going to be gone. Now, with lead, you can, well, as we're aware with Facebook ads, you can essentially have lead forms, or we can have like a landing page specifically for it. For lead magnets, my personal opinion is to always send them through to a landing page. And the reason behind that is we can optimize our funnel to essentially maximize conversions. And what we're going to go through here is essentially the structure that I have personally implemented whenever I've run lead gen campaigns. And I will sort of go through some examples here with you as well. So the first one is going to be the opt-in page. Right, and I have personally found with opt-in pages, keeping them short and sweet, have a big headline, introduce the lead magnet, what the benefits are, and then add a couple of testimonials in there. Now, what you want to do on here is essentially collect their details, right? So if we just put this into blue, this is where you want to collect their name, email, and I would personally collect their phone number as well. Now, regarding sort of this process and why I would collect their email address, email and phone number is once somebody opts in, we want to make sure that we have a nurture sequence to get these people onto a call with us, because as most of you are going to be fully aware, if you just provide a lead magnet, that doesn't mean that people are just going to come running through the door most of the time. And I've seen it in sort of probably 50% of the businesses that I have worked with lead magnets in, is a lot of our audience won't actually open the lead magnet at any point, and it's mainly for us as a business to collect their contact information so we can then get them on the phone. And off the back of that, in terms of the phone number, if this is possible, one thing I would personally be doing is ringing the lead within 5 minutes of them opening, or 5 minutes of them submitting their contact information, right? And the reason for that is when somebody sends their contact information, that is when they're most excited about your service. right? If I give you the example of, we'll stick with Heath Media, right? If Ben has a lead magnet for, say, a webinar, then what we can essentially say is somebody who's just signed up for that, they are struggling with Facebook ads, right? That pain point for them is going to be instilled in them straight away. And they have submitted their information, they've seen the ads, they've got all the value they need to from the ads, and they're like, oh, I cannot wait for this webinar from Ben. This is going to be really exciting. If we don't ring the lead within a few minutes of that, that excitement just drops and drops and drops and drops until the point where they're not really that bothered about it anymore. So always ring them up within sort of 5 minutes. And with the opt-in, one thing that I have personally found to be the most effective here is to actually email them the resource. Right. Obviously, it is a little bit different if you're doing like a webinar aspect, but I've seen people who do like video training as part of their lead magnet, and they will have the opt-in page and they'll have the training video on the next page. And I'll sort of explain why I personally wouldn't do that. So what we can do now is go on to the next stage in the process, which is going to be the thank you page. So with the thank you page, what I would personally be doing here is I'd have a banner across the top, and I am going to dive into an example in a moment. Have the header bar across the top, essentially something across the top here. Don't know why that pen's not working, but like something in this section there that just says your resource or your ebook is on its way to the inbox, so check that out. And the reason why I wouldn't advertise it here is this page is meant to sell. You want to sell the next stage in the process, right? And as everybody here is going to be aware, collecting leads is good, right? We want to collect leads, we want to collect data, we want to collect email addresses. If those leads don't go on to book a call with us, or we never actually get to speak to them, it's pointless, right? All we're doing is building up an email list, but we know those people aren't going to purchase from us. So we naturally want to sell them on the next step, right? So we got the opt-in page, we collect their details. On the thank you page, I would personally sell the next stage, whether that's for them to book a call or to actually buy your specific product, right? And what I would personally be having here is I'd have a VSL, video sales letter, off the back. Let's just put that in orange, let's say. After that thank you page, if somebody clicks through, they will then go onto the application page / the book a call page, right? And this is the page where our audience is going to be most skeptical, right? Let's just write that in. They are going to be most skeptical here. They are nervous. And it's one thing that I have really been speaking to a lot of business owners about at the moment is lead magnets work really well because people don't always like getting on calls with businesses, right? Me and a friend actually went to a conference in Miami with a guy called Ravi, who's a big marketer, and he was saying that I think it was like 96 or 98% of people actually prefer to buy online now rather than over calls, right? So when we go to book in a call or get an application page, people are going to be skeptical because they know I'm going to book a call with this company, I'm going to get on the sales call, they're going to try and hard sell me, I'm going to have to sort of fight, they're going to be fighting me to put money down, I'm going to be fighting them to say I've just come on this call to ask for a little bit more information, and it's time out of their day that they have to invest in it, right? So one thing that I would always do on this application page is scatter and fill it up with results and case studies, right? And then what you then want to do after the application page is have another thank you page. And on this thank you page, you essentially want to, again, provide them with more value. So the only way they're going to access this thank you page is they've either purchased your product or most likely, because you're watching this masterclass, they would have booked a call with you. So what you then want to do is essentially make sure that they attend the call, right? So in terms of like show up rates on your calls, there will be another module coming in the near future on that. But your average show up rate is most likely from an ad through Lead Magnet to call, depending on what you implement, around 60-70%. So what you want to do is essentially get that number as high as possible. So how can you do that? You can tell them, just put it on here. So you can give them more resources. You can potentially, if you say have a YouTube channel, you can, I know in the example that I'm going to give at the moment, he actually has a Facebook group, and he encourages people to join the Facebook group and like drop him a private message, right? So what I'm essentially going to do now that like you can visualize the process, is actually jump into an example here. And again, this is one of Alex Hormozi's old funnel that is from his days back in Gym Launch. So as we can see here, he's got the opt-in page. This was all he had on the page. So he keeps it very, very straightforward, right? So essentially we are only working with gym owners who can take on 50 plus clients. And in this Lead Magnet example, what he was giving them away was a case study. And if I go over to sort of Ben's Lead Magnet here for his webinar, as we can see, it's very, very simple. There's not a massive amount of information on it. You want to keep it nice and simple and just give some benefits across the board. And again, as you can see here, Ben's got that urgent aspect of it because it starts in 12 minutes. And I have tested this out for a ton of businesses, and I personally find for that opt-in page, the shorter it is, the better. And what I would also make sure you do is have it as a standalone page. So don't have your navigation bar, don't allow people to navigate through the website, because you lose focus on the conversions, right? And it makes sense. If I come onto this page and I can go over to his home page, or I can go over to his results page, although you might be thinking, oh yeah, well they're spending more time on the website, you lose that conversion focus. If they go onto your homepage, there's going to be a ton of other services that you do, which, because they've clicked on an ad for the webinar, that's what they're most interested in. So I'd make it a standalone page. And then as you can see here, he doesn't actually collect phone numbers here, but I absolutely would. So he does first name, last name, email address. After that opt-in page, you can see here, he goes on through to the thank you page. And as you can see, it's on its way to the inbox, and then he's got, now let's see if we can help. So he's got a VSL essentially selling his service then, and then essentially what he's got written as text here is just things that he's regurgitated across. And my apologies for the screenshots, by the way. This is a really old funnel from him. I don't think he's been involved in Gym Launch for the last couple of years, but it's just a really good funnel to see. Essentially what he's doing now is selling his service. So anybody who clicks on the complete questionnaires and tell us about your business, they will go through to an application page. And as I was sort of regurgitating earlier, this is where people are going to be most nervous, right? So as we can sort of see here, he's got his form, he's got a video testimonial from Russell Brunson, who, if you're in the space, he's massive, so the credibility's there. And honestly, this was taken off a YouTube video, but the rest of this page had hundreds and hundreds of testimonials and case studies. So that's sort of how I would personally structure it. And then going through to that confirmation page, as you can see here, it's your strategy session is booked. Now you've got a little bit of homework, private message me on Facebook. And what the main purpose of that for him is, they private message him on Facebook. You start that conversation, means you build that personal relationship, means they're more inclined to show up for that call. So I hope that makes sense. Any questions around sort of lead magnets, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to dive into anything in a little bit more detail for you. Appreciate you all, and see you inside of the community.